every time I'm introduced as America's joy magnet that I got to be like, da, 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 da. Hello. Welcome to A Cuppa Joy. I am your host, Sherry Elise. I am so excited to be here with you today. For those of you who know, I have a show in development, but I did not want to hold off on introducing you to today's guest. So I created an entire show just for him. Say hello to me if you are watching live with us in the comments. If you are watching in a Facebook group, you got to enter your information, say yes to StreamYard. That way your name shows up and I know that you are here watching with me. So first I want to let you know that A Cuppa Joy is really a show about transformation. It's a show about possibilities. It's a show about the human spirit and reawakening all of us, you, to our greatest selves so that you can reconnect back to your joy. And my guest today is no different. I'm going to share with you a little bit about him in just a moment. But the reason why I wanted to bring him on was because we are in a time and a place right now. I think we're all well aware that change has to happen, that transformation has to happen. And when you hear his story, there's not a possibility for you to say, oh, it's too hard. Because when you hear what he has done and the transformation that he has created in his own life, there will never be another excuse again. So let me stop talking. Let me stop yabbering on. I'm going to actually show you something right now. So because they did a much better job of it than I could. So go ahead and watch this.
Alcoholic, my friend.
A recovered alcoholic himself, Robb uses unconventional methods to empower his clients to fight their addiction head on.
What I care about is trying to get you well, but don't waste my time. Deal?
Robb is a triple threat against the disease, making permanent recoveries his life's mission and purpose.
Welcome to the Cuppa Joy, Dr. Robb Kelly.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. Awesome to be here, guys. If you're listening live, it's a happy Wednesday, I think it is. My first day back at work. But yeah, good to be here, Sherry. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for being here. I'm going to read just a little bit about you while you sit here and sit uncomfortably as I read your bio. I always love to do that. But I just want everyone to know a little bit about you. So you are a PhD who is a sought-after recovery expert who believes in treating the causes of addiction and not the symptoms. Some people have referred to you as the Gordon Ramsay of the addiction world because of his direct, no-nonsense, and candid approach to recovery. Dr. Kelly has worked with thousands of people, including celebrities of film, music, and sports, and he's appeared numerous times on television. You currently host the Breaking Through Addiction podcast, featuring special guests discussing a variety of mental health issues. Dr. Kelly is currently the CEO of the Robb Kelly Recovery Group, an addiction and mental illness recovery and coaching program that you created with extensive research and behavioral studies that he's conducted for 20 years. You share in your book, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking, about your crippling alcoholism. And you are going to share a bit about that with us today. Thank you, first of all, for all of the work that you do in the world. I just want to honor that.
Thank you so much. It's absolutely amazing. We just love what we do because we do what we love.
And let me ask you this question, like right off the bat, because, you know, everyone already knows, I've already said, your life has been transformed. You transformed your life. You didn't sit and wish about it, or maybe you did at one point, but you created it. You took action. And that's what I want to focus really on today, because we all talk about the life that we want to live. And we all think and wish and hope and dream, but you did it. So right where you are right now, what for you? So let's share a little backstory and take your time with this. And I really mean that, because when you share this with me, it made me want to do this with you, because I want people to know that there is nothing too hard. So share a little bit about how you got where you are right now.
The basic quantum physics idea is that we can be anybody, we can be anywhere, and we can have whatever we want. Mix that with any higher power, if you have one, God, universe, brother, whoever it is, Uncle Bob, doesn't make any difference. You literally can achieve anything. Now, people always used to say to me, Sherry, when I said that, well, I can't be president of the United States. Well, I beg to differ. We had a business around the country. Don't tell me you can't do everything you want to do, because it's possible. So that was the big key, first of all. So whether you sat at home or you're not happy with your life, we'll go through that shortly, but it's 100% you can change and you can make the life you want to make. So let's get that out there. My backstory is that I came from a musical family. We grew up in a poor house. My auntie and uncle were the musicians on stage every weekend playing in the clubs and bars. So at the age of 9, I joined them, because you have to understand about the addicted mind and the addicted personality. We're either really good at something or we don't touch it. So we're either all in or we're all out. And many people have this brain. You see the geniuses, yeah, they're the guys that have that kind of brain. You see the guys that change their life, they're the guys that have the brain. The problem with me is, what I know now but didn't know then, is alcoholism was in my family. So I was born, it's a predisposition, by the way. You can't drink yourself into becoming an alcoholic. Alcoholics are born, drug addicts are made. That'll freak you out if you know anything about addiction, but it's so true. So I took my first drink at the age of 9 on a stage in Liverpool, Manchester, United Kingdom, because that's where I'm from, just in case you're thinking I'm from East Texas. No, my good man, you would be wrong by saying that. So,
what?
I know. That was I've learned a couple of Texas, y'all and fixing to. That's about as Texas as I get.
Do you wear a hat?
I was bought a hat. I wear it on special occasions because the man who bought it for me is, in my heart, he's a great man, but his son, Adam Jablin, is more of a friend. He's absolutely amazing. So yes, I do wear it. So really, my time was spent in school just drinking and just chilling out like any other kid. My normal school, I was a musician, so I kind of got to play in that. Never thought I fit in. I never thought I'd amount to anything. We come from poor family, working class family, lower working class. My dad worked for the gas company, digging roads and replacing pipes in the roads. And my mum cleaned other people's houses for a living. And I always wanted to be better than that. Not here's something I never shared before. Not for my sake. I want to see the height of my success. So I kind of did it for mum, saying, because I was embarrassed that mum was a house cleaner. I was embarrassed that mum was a factory worker. I was embarrassed that my dad was digging up roads. Whenever my friends would say, what would your dad do? I go, he works for the gas company, but I'd never tell him he was an outside worker. He worked hard. He was good at what he did. He was qualified in what he did. Don't get me wrong, but I was always embarrassed about that lifestyle, to the fact that at school, when someone would go, hey, my dad's going to pick us all up tonight. We're going to go to the rec center. We're going to play football. Do you want us to pick you up? I so badly wanted to go, but there's no way am I giving my address on the projects, with the trailer park next. There was no way. So I would give him a false address, which was about half a mile away from where we lived, was what we call the posh houses. So people who had mortgages, this was government housing we was in. And if they say, I'll pick you up at 7, I would run there at 6:30 and I would stand outside the first house and I would wait there for 20 minutes until they arrived. And I'd pretend I was coming out the house, I'd jump in, play football, come back. They'd drop me outside the same house and I would have to awkwardly wave until, they'd go. And on the first occasion, they didn't. They wanted to see me to the door. So I opened the gate and pretended to walk in. Then they drove off. I would run back out and run back to the house. That's how embarrassed I was. And I don't know why. We came from a loving family. The house was always spotless. There was food on the table. We had our clothes, bills were paid on time. But it was just something that I wanted to break out of. And, I didn't want to be the guy picking people up in the taxi going to the airport. I wanted to be the guy going to the airport on business.
So even from that young age, you already had a vision for yourself and what you wanted and what you saw yourself as.
I did, and I used to tell people that I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this. And my music got me out of the hole big time, because I always wanted to be a professional musician. And there was a couple of spates where I could have been, but made the wrong decision, either alcohol or just laziness. But yeah, I got a job. I gigged at weekends with bands, people my age, after Uncle Pete and Auntie May. That was the name. So I come away and started gigging with bands. And so we'd always be earning from high school money weekend, You know, we'd probably get £20 a night each, £60
Mhm.
a day. You know, we'd pay for a new car or, you know, a new apartment or something. That's how I've always worked. You know, it's when somebody comes out on now who can't afford our services. If we have room and time, we go, how much you spend on alcohol and drugs? And we go, well, I spend $150 a month. That's how much I'm going to charge you. And my automatic thing is, well, that'll cover my gas for the month. I always do
Right.
that. You know, it's crazy how I do that. But it's better than what I used to do, which is there's £2, Rob, or that's 6 beers. That's how I used to count my money, how many beers it was. Well, £10 is like 6 beers. I can get 6 beers for that 10. It's crazy thinking. Crazy thinking.
So talk to us about that. Talk to us about about the alcohol and where that took a turn for you in your life, where it became actually an issue in your life.
We have to remember, guys, that when I talk about alcohol, I'm just an alcoholic. I don't have a problem with drugs. But alcohol has 1% to do with alcoholism. So when we talk about the disease, it's not specially, oh, I'm not an alcoholic, so I don't have to listen to this. 1%. So when we take the 1% of alcohol away, 99% of the people on this earth suffer with what I'm going to be talking about. So the drinking was great through high school. We just drank weekends. And when I got throughout the 4th grade, which is different than over here, 4th grade, it's around 14, 15, I think. I was playing, and then somebody said to me, have you ever thought of being a studio musician? And my answer was, I'm not good enough for that. So I applied for a job as a studio musician at a place called Strawberry Studios, which was probably 10 miles outside Manchester in Stockport. And the 10cc, the band 10cc, owned it. So I found by going there for 2 hours, they would pay me more money than 4 gigs on the road with my band. So I knew that was the future. But the problem is I drank a little bit more and I was introduced to cocaine when I was at the studio. I then applied, because now I'm getting cocky and really good, I applied for Abbey Road Studios in London, Southwest London. Abbey Road's famous for the Beatles, and anybody's recorded at Abbey Road. So I did the bass playing job there, and I got it after 7 auditions. And then I was introduced to more drugs and alcohol, and that's when it started to really not go bad for me, because I never thought I was an alcoholic until after I was homeless, which is crazy. But it was like, you know, I wasn't feeling my best after about 6 months at Abbey Road. And I was mixing with all these people, doing sessions with Elton John, David Bowie, Freddie Mercury. And when you're mixing with them guys, their lifestyle is amazing, but they weren't alcoholics or addicts. Well, Elton obviously was, but we didn't know then. I was. So they'd get up in the morning ready for the studio, and I'd be drinking all the way through and not capable of performing in the studio. And that went on for a few months, and then they had to let me go. So the biggest joke is, I think I'm the only person in the world that got fired from the music industry for drinking and using drugs. I mean,
I was just thinking that. I was just wondering that. I'm like, you got that was an issue. So did you even think at that time that you had, or you were just having a good time?
Hell no. Alcohol was good. Just having a good time. You're supposed to do this at this age, you know?
Right.
And I carried on doing that. But the good thing about Abbey Road is I put myself through university, and everyone says, oh, you went to Oxford. That's amazing. I went to Oxford because I found somebody who knew somebody who got me through the back door. And I graduated with help of people doing my papers and my homework for me. You know, I'm kind of a bit of a fraud when it comes to stuff like that. And the imposter syndrome was huge after that, because I wasn't clever enough to go to Oxford. There's no doubt about that. But when I was about 15, 16, I hung around this friend. He was 21, and he was a Freemason. Now, Freemason in England is very secretive, not like it is over here. It's very secretive. And because they didn't have an organist, this particular lodge in central Manchester, they let me come in at an early age. So no black ball, in I went, and I played the organ for many years with that lodge. And from contact of a contact, I managed to get in through the back door at Green's College, first of all, to become a medical doctor. They kicked me out for being drunk every day. So then I had to go to Trinity and become a psychologist. But yeah, it was not on my merit. It was not because I was smart or anybody else. I knew how to do backhanders. I knew how to wheel and deal until I get what I wanted, because I was told to lie at an early age for mom. when somebody called the phone, they had the address next to the phone saying, this is where you tell us where we live. You'd never tell us that we live on Lingfield Avenue, which is kind of the project's, never. So I got to learn how to lie at a very early age.
So when did you, well, first I want to welcome everyone that's been watching, that's streaming in on LinkedIn and in Facebook and other Facebook groups. Thank you all for joining us. We are talking to Dr. Robb Kelly today, who has lived a life, which we are getting to. One really, and like I said, A Cuppa Joy is really about transformation. It's about taking action. It's about the human spirit and possibility. So share with us, when did it, because you didn't know it was a problem.
No.
When did you realize that you had a problem?
All right, guys, grab your tissues. You're making to need them over the next.
You already did this to me when we talked the first time.
So I got married thinking that might ease me a little bit. Didn't work. Had my first child. Went to the hospital with my wife. When the child was born, I put my hand on a Bible and swore I'd never drink alcohol again. Now I'm a father. 3 hours later, I was drunk at a bar. Second child came along 18 months later. Went to the hospital with my wife and my young daughter. When the second daughter was born, took 2 Bibles, put 2 hands on the 2 Bibles, and I swore to God, the doctor, me, and my wife that I'd never touch alcohol again. 90 minutes later, I was drunk. So never thought I had a problem. When it really started to go wrong, and again, didn't really see it for what it was, because the definition of insanity is not being able to see your own truth. That's the definition of insanity. So we had 2 children. I had a wife. I had a dog. I had 2 cars. We were doing really well, but I was drinking every day in the house. 2 incidents that, well, 3 incidents. First of all, I fell down the stairs one day coming down for a drink, and fell down my 2-year-old daughter, 3-year-old daughter, nearly killed her as I fell on top of him because Dad wanted to drink. He wanted to get down the stairs quick. That was one incident. The second incident that should have raised red flags for me is I came down 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning one day. I was dying to drink vodka. I found some vodka in the kitchen that was hidden. I put it on the side of the counter for a second. I turned round to get a crystal glass because, hey, guys, I'm not an alcoholic, okay? I'm drinking out of this $50 or £50 glass, crystal glass, heavy crystal glass. When I turned round, my wife had snatched the bottle off the counter, and she said, I think you've had enough. What I should have done is listened to her. Thank you, Mrs. Kelly, gone back to bed and slept it off. What I did was took a kitchen knife out and stabbed her 3 times. As she hit the floor, I grabbed my bottle. I finished it down in one. I called a taxi, which was just around the corner, and then I called the police and the ambulance. When I heard the police and ambulance siren, I jumped into a taxi and I fled to Spain for 3 months. And I would not return until charges were dropped. Now, back in the UK in those days, unlike over here, where if there's violence in the house, there has to be an arrest. Over there, you can only press charges if the victim wants to press charges. If they say I don't, then you can drop it, especially with marriages. So that's what she did. She dropped it and I came home. On returning home, because she knew what time and day I was going to get home, pulled the taxi outside. I got out, ready to go in with my tail between my legs, saying, I'm sorry, sorry, sorry. As I opened the door, I saw the suitcases there. And then her and the 2 children came out, ages 1 and 3. And then she said, Rob, I'll love you to the day I die, but you're not going to kill our children. And she left. And I was left in this big house all on my own. And I was scared, Sherry. I was really scared. And then ego took over. I called my attorney and I said, you get my kids back immediately. Otherwise, we're going to stop doing business with you. We probably did $1 million with them, or £1 million, sorry. So the next day, my attorney showed up. He's been to court and he got my 2 children on the doorstep. I gave him a hefty check and then I took my 2 children inside. Now, can you imagine this? I've taken my two children. I've taken custody of them. This was going to be a turning point in my life. Now I have my 2 children to take care of. There's going to be no alcohol use. There's just no way would that ever happen. But I took them into the front room. I've sat them down in front of the TV. I put the TV on and I walked into the kitchen and I walked to the fridge and I said to myself, I'm just going to have 1 drink to celebrate my children being home. 3 days later, or 2 or 3 days later, when the police kicked the door down, because nobody had heard of me and the children for 2 days, I think maybe 3, They found the children had not been changed diapers, nappies if you're in the UK, nor have they been fed for 2 days, because daddy was in a drunken stew for the 2 days and been to the liquor store. There was bottles of vodka strewn and receipts of credit cards that I'd been to the liquor store at least 5 times and left them kids on their own. I got kicked awake by a police officer who was very disgusted with me, and rightly so. And he handed me a paper saying unfit father. I came round, I looked at it, I was horrified at what I'd seen. The police were picking the children up and taking them outside. I stumbled to the door with this piece of paper like a mess, and I saw my wife, child services, the police were there, the authorities were there, the ambulance was there, and grandmother took the youngest one, and my wife took the eldest one, which is probably 3.5, and they started to walk away. They wouldn't even speak to me. They started to walk down the path. And my daughter said 3 things to me. And she says, Daddy, Daddy, please don't go. See how resilient kids are. And then halfway down the path, she says, Daddy, Daddy, please get better. And as they got to the gate, the wrought iron gate, they opened the gate. And she turned around one more time and she says, Daddy, Daddy, please stop drinking. And I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it. I went back in the kitchen and I opened another can of alcohol, and followed a 2 or 3 month blackout.
Wow.
During that 2 or 3 month blackout, I'd lost the house. The kids were gone. The wife had gone. The cars had gone. My business had gone. I went from there to my mum's. My mum and dad threw me out after 2 days, because you see how rampant the alcoholism was with me, and rages and throwing things. And I went from there to acquaintances. To friends, from friends to acquaintances. And then finally, within about 2 weeks, I went from acquaintances to the streets. And I always remember sat there on the streets for the first day in the central Manchester, Piccadilly Gardens. It was raining, it was cold. And I thought to myself, where the hell did all that just go wrong?
So you went from having the family in the house to literally living on the streets. How long were you homeless for?
About 14 months. So just over a year. Parents wouldn't take phone calls. The biggest abandonment, and if you know what abandonment is, guys, the biggest abandonment we can suffer is when your parents rebuff you. And I used to call them up and go, put 10 pence in. Hey, Mum, it's me. Phone would go down. See, that's what they were told to do. And so I got abandoned on the streets by sister and brother disowned me, friends disowned me, acquaintances disowned me, and I was on the streets abandoned all on my own.
So how do you find, I'm like already looking at the time and I have so much to talk to you about, but I'm like, so how do you find that strength? What happens inside when you feel like you're at a complete loss? How did you turn that corner?
I couldn't turn the corner. I tried to commit suicide 5 times, and on 2 occasions at work, I was dead. They brought me back to life. I did not want to live. There was no way out for me. This was going to be my life till I died. I was oblivion every day with alcohol that I stole, beat people up for. I did whatever I had to do. So there was no way out. But one Sunday night, Monday morning, about 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm walking down the back ends of Manchester, the factories. There's no people there. There's no houses there. There's no traffic there. It's dead. It's factories only. And I dropped down to my hands and knees and started to cry like a baby. I was sobbing from my stomach. It was pouring down with rain. The rain was hitting the back of my head. It was coming around my face. It was joining my tears. It was hitting the cobblestones in a blue and purple color. I wasn't drinking because I wasn't crying because I lost my kids or my wife or my cars or everything else. I was crying because the first time in my life, I realized I couldn't stop drinking. And I looked up to the sky as an atheist, because this was it for me. And I said, if there is a God up there, I can't do this on my own anymore. 30 seconds later, a guy walked around the corner, small Bible in his hand, missed his last psalm from Bible study. He said, do you want help? I said, yes. And that's where my journey started.
So you literally felt you had no hope. You gave it up to God, which you didn't even believe in at the time, and said yes.
Yes. And I went back to his house, and he said, hey, there's one condition, Rob. You can stay as long as you like, man. I've got a spare bedroom. It's got a mattress on the floor. You can eat. I'll feed you. We'll do whatever we've got to do, man. But you've got to come to these AA meetings. And I hated them meetings. I've been to them before, but I had to go that night because it was a free bed, and a warm bed.
Yeah.
So I'd shaved and got some new clothes on that he gave me, and I went to this meeting, and halfway around the room of everyone sharing, this guy said, "My name's John and I'm a recovered alcoholic." And I'd never heard anybody said recovered before. So you can't recover from this stuff. You can't do it. So when it finished, I went over to him and I asked him to sponsor me, which is an AA thing. And he said no. And just before the ground opened up and engulfed me with shame, he said, "But I'll be your spiritual advisor for 12 weeks. And I thought, well, that's odd, but okay. And every Wednesday, I used to leave my house at 7, get there for 8. Don't quote me on the times now. And then get back for 9. So an hour walk there, an hour with John, an hour back. I did that for 12 weeks. When I walked out that man's house, he said, "Things will change from tomorrow, Rob." And I said, "You're wrong, John. I love what you've done for me, but you're wrong. I'm in this guy's house. Nobody knows where I am. I'm on a mattress on the floor. There's no way." And he smiled at me. He said, "You've been chosen, Rob. Don't worry." And I walked out that man's house a different person. The very next day, Derek, the guy I was staying with, came home and said, "Hey, there's a guy who's just packed the job in at work, sweeping the floors. Do you want the job? It's only part-time." And I'm like, hell yeah. I didn't think about John. Hell yeah, I'll take that job. So I went for that part-time job the next day, and I swept up for a week and a half. And the foreman came up and said, "Would you like it to turn into full-time?" And I said, "Yes, please." And then 4 or 5 days later, I got on with these guys so well. And one said, "Hey, I have a third car that we don't use. It's a little Mini. It's probably only got 6 months to go on it, tax and services, but you can have it." So I got a free car. So my first paycheck, I got a little teddy bear from the petrol station with a card on thanking John. And I walked back to his house. And I got to his apartment. There was nobody there. There was no lights on or nothing. And I banged that hard. The right-hand neighbor came out, lovely woman. And she's, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Can you tell me where John is?" He said, "John." I said, "Yeah, has he relocated?" She said, "There's been no one in that apartment for 3 months. Ever since I've been here 3 months, there's been no one in that apartment." So I let her close the door, went to a left-hand apartment. I knocked on the door with haste because now I'm thinking, what's going on here? This guy comes to the door and I said, "Can you tell me where John's relocated to?" And he said, "John." I said, "Yes, John, next door neighbor. You must know him." And he said this to me. He said, "I don't know who you are, buddy, but there's been no one in that apartment for 12 months. And I'll tell you why. It's derelict. Nobody can go in there. It's unsafe." I was like, I've got the right apartment. I know I have. So then, but still not believing that something crazy like this.
Yeah.
So then I went to the meeting that I'd been to 16, 17, 20 weeks before. And I got the foreman who was there. And I said to him, "Hey, you remember speaking to John?" He said, "John?" I'm sick of people saying John with a question mark. "John, the guy was over near the coffee machine and I was speaking to him." And one of the guys said, "Hey, Rob, we saw you over near the coffee machine speaking to yourself." Never found that guy. Never found him. But what he taught me has saved millions of people's lives in the last, 30 odd years I've been doing this.
There is so much to unpack there. Do you have, which we have minutes to go, a couple minutes more?
I'm free all day. Go for it. Let's go.
Okay. So because this is what I want to ask you. Have you made sense of that moment yet for you?
Yes. There was an angel that placed himself because I was always chosen to do great things. An angel that was going to teach me the next generation and how to evolve from that. And all the homelessness, the loss of kids, the pain, the torment that I caused my family, the suicides were all meant as a lesson before you go forward. You see, I get people come today all the time sharing and say, "What do you know in your $1 million house? What do you know? How do you know about homeless?" And I go, "Let me sit down and talk to you about that. How do you know about assaulting, stabbing?" Let me talk to you. What about losing your kid? Let me talk to you about that. It's like a semester at Harvard when I look back. Them days were phenomenal learning lessons. They were painful, but I was reborn the day I met John. You ask any woman what it's like childbirth, it's the most painful thing in the world. There's always pain before a rebirth. That was my pain before I was reborn again.
What is it, though, do you think that made you say yes? And the reason why I ask it is because there's somebody sitting here right now who wants a better life, who thinks that they can do it, but they don't know how. What is it?
First of all, guys, if you're sat at home thinking you can't do anything, that you won't amount to anything, that you're not good enough, whatever it may be. I want to apologize to you guys because somebody's put that there. We are born with $1 million minds, but we hang around 10-cent minds. Remember when you were kids playing in the yard or whatever it is? What do you want to be, Jill? Oh, yeah, I want to be a nurse. What do you want to be? I want to be a doctor. What happened to them dreams? I'll tell you, they got kicked out of us by family and friends. Their memories and what we could achieve is always there. You just have to believe that you're the one, and nobody listens to this by mistake. Okay? So if you're listening to this, this message is for you. Listen, we did some studies about grandparents and grandmother dying in hospice, and we asked friends, could we go in and speak to them? I said, it's a beautiful question. He said, yeah. And I went into every one of them and I said one thing. I think I said two, but this one thing was important. What would you leave us with? What's your last thought? And every single time, Sherry, they said, I thought I had more time. Guy, we don't. I went to bed last night. I was 19 years old. I woke up today. I'm 60. That's how fast life goes. Stop putting it off tomorrow. You are good enough. You can do amazing things. You can do anything you want. Well, I can't be CEO. Yes, you can. If you're in a marriage that isn't working and you're miserable, get another wife. Get another husband. If you hate your job, get another job. Well, it isn't that simple. It really is that simple. It really is. I've seen 7,000 people. It really is that simple. Don't sit there telling me you can. We've just had a president running the country, a businessman with no political experience, and he ran the country. Don't tell me you can't do this stuff, because you can. Stop saying it's impossible and put that apostrophe in there. I'm possible. Every single time. The brain will tell us that. Neuroscience will tell us that. Quantum physics will tell us that. But it's fear. What if I fail? What if you don't? Do you see how many J.K. Rowlings were turned down? How many times she was turned down? It was hundreds. And she's the first billionaire author in the world. You see how many times the Beatles got turned down? It was almost 100. And they're the highest paid earning band in the world. Don't tell me you can't do anything you want to do, because you are wrong.
I'm just listening because I know that there are people out there that's listening to that and they're like, oh, this is a great motivational talk. And I would have said the same thing years ago, but knowing the transformation that I've made in my life, watching you go from literally sitting on the ground, kneeling on the ground to where you are, it is a choice. And I know that you and I spoke when we spoke for the first time, and we talked about neural pathways, and we've talked about, you know, the brain and self-sabotage. What does somebody do that has that?
Well, first of all, you can't do it on your own. So if you've gone through abuse, there's always trauma, guys. Everyone's got trauma in the past. If you have the addicted brain, you always have trauma as a child. It's picking that trauma. Well, I've never been in a plane crash. That's trauma, but it's not a trauma I'm talking about. Has anybody said this year as a child or in school, don't be so stupid, you can't go to college. You're too stupid to go to college. That's trauma. Anything less than nurturing as a child is child abuse. Believe me, it is. Oh, you can't say that. I'm saying it from our research. Trauma is devastating. And what we do from learned behavior is we bring that to our future teens and 20s and 30s and 40s. That's why women always come to me and go, Dr. Rob, can you tell me why I keep attracting the same guy who turns out to be an alcoholic or beats me? What was your parents like? Well, it's learned behavior. So self-sabotaging neural pathways rule. What you have to do is replace them. So the basal ganglia and the neural pathways in the head run what we do, what we say, the motor, and everything that goes happen. Usually with trauma, there's a chink in this basal ganglia. So it's trying to do your best, go to college, marry a little bit sooner, try to and then you self-sabotage. Whatever that self-sabotage is, that might be alcohol, food, sex, porn, whatever it is, you start bringing yourself down with that internal dialogue that you're never good enough. That's the self-sabotaging neural pathways. We have to change that. And you can't do it on your own, because your internal dialogue will tell you to self-sabotage in the same tone of voice. It says, go and buy your wife some flowers. Go and buy your husband a nice beer and a card. It talks to you in the same voice, so you don't see it. And this is my findings. You need a third party or a second party coming in and going, hey, that's wrong. And there's exercises we can do over a period of time which will change them neural pathways into success. Every single time. I've never failed. 7,000 people down the line have never failed because
what makes you different? What makes the work that you do different than other? Like example, we all know Steven Tyler, I'm sure certain that you heard, just went back to rehab. I've heard you say that you have a percentage rate of recovery. There is not there's not an alcoholic, there's a recovered alcoholic.
100%, 97, 98 success rate. Treatment centers, 5%, 6%. We use neuroscience. There's nobody studied the alcoholic brain as much as I have. There is nobody. I'll stand up with anybody and say that. I speak amongst the best doctors as a specialist. Harvard University quoted me as one of the best addiction doctors when I wrote a piece. Phenomenal stuff. We look at it differently. We look at the whole brain science. We look at the central nervous system. We look at behavior, and we go back and we clear the trauma up. If we don't address the trauma, it will address us. And people are not catching, well, they are now, last 10 years, how important the trauma is. And once we clear that up and reroute neural pathways through thought patterns, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, somatic experience, brain spotting, just to mention a few, we can reset the brain. I remap the brain for success, because all we're doing when we're doing the other stuff is we're self-sabotaging. And the reason we're self-sabotaging is because of the trauma from our past. Somebody's put that there. And that's why I apologize. Somebody has put that there. The $10 million mind, God gives us that when we're born. What happens to it? Our friends kick it out of us. I was in Dallas. We moved to San Antonio 3 years ago. I was in Dallas and I said to my friends I was hanging around with, thinking of writing a book. Well, they laughed. Don't be so stupid, Rob. You can't write a book. You're not an author. I never wrote a book. I came to San Antonio 3 years ago. I said to my new friends, hey guys, I'm thinking of writing a book. I thought you already had books out. Oh my God, you have to do that. So I wrote a book. Show me your friends, I'll show you your future. You can feed off each other. Any negativity in your life, family or friends, you need to get rid of if you're going to head towards success. Because one sentence and one word can bring you crashing down. And that internal dialogue will grab hold of that. So here's some tricks. Compliment 3 people every day. Nice shoes, nice top, looking good, sound, whatever, 3 people. When we compliment somebody, dopamine is released into our brain. It's one of the 4 feel-good chemicals in our brain. That's what we need to be doing. Write 5 things every single day that you're going to complete that day. Write them down the night before. It could start easy. Making the bed, have breakfast, get your subconscious brain and the reward part of the brain to click on. So every time you check one of them off during the day, you've succeeded. And as we go along, make them harder and harder. And third one, write a check to yourself. If you're at 45 grand this year and you want to earn 85 next year, get your checkbook out, write in 52523 and write it for $80,000. You watch that be cashed in a year's time and put it where you can see it every day.
I wrote one of those checks before, but I didn't leave it out long enough, so I'm going to take it back out.
Yes, a year is the golden thing. Especially when you're working with me, there's not been a check not cashed yet. Up to 7,000 people all the time. It's possible. You have to have the change.
Who is watching? Let me know in the comments who is going to be writing their check today. Dr. Robb, it sounds, because why I feel like what you do is so powerful is because you make us feel not just hope, but the possibility that we can change, and that and really it is about the mind. And I'd love to know what it is that you do in your life every single day to no longer be that person.
Oh, it's good, this. I like it. First of all, I can't stand motivational speakers. Yeah, I just don't like them. It's like you follow them on. They're living they live on the projects or in a trailer, and they're telling you could earn millions, and they're driving a 10 grand car. And, I live that dream. I've been there. I've done it. You can. I want to make people better than me. People all the time go, well, you want me to do what you did? No, I want you to be higher. I want you to increase and succeed more than I have. That's my job. So every time I get up in the morning, I do 2 things. I do what's called my mirror work. So we're feeding the subconscious mind. I love you 10 times. No other affirmation. I love you. I love you. Looking straight in the mirror. Check. When you get the shower or bath or whatever, start your affirmations off. Today's going to be a freaking great day. Today, I'm going to do that thing. Today, I'm going to start that diet. Today, I'm going to apply. Get these affirmations going. Okay, nice shower. You come out, and here is the most important thing you're going to do every single day. We only use 20% of our lungs for oxygen. No illness or disease or negative thought pattern can exist when oxygen is present. Okay,
Mm,
so most of us in a hypoxia. Yeah, so all the diseases, thought patterns can really sort of excess, cancer included, and everything else. Believe me. So 3 lots of 10. Do that in the morning. Your day will be incredible. And listen, if you do all that, so it's okay for you saying that, Dr. Robb. What do you know? If you do the things I've just told you and you don't have a great day, you contact me. I'm going to send you $100. I'm going to send you it. That's how confident I am about changing brains and remapping brains and its nervous systems. It's like I'm giving you this on a plate. Take it and run. If you have a substance abuse problem, take it or go use. Take it or go drink. Take it or just self-sabotage, because it's there for the taking. I'm nothing special. I had to have God's help. If you don't believe in God, there's 27,000. Just pick one. There's loads out there, or Uncle Bob or something, and start believing in yourself. There is no difference between you and the guy you work for. The only difference is he believes he can do it.
yes.
You believe you should be working for him. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's 2022. If you can't take $100,000 a year on your computer or your job or your side job, you're doing something wrong. And it's not about the money, believe me. Like, money doesn't make me happy, but I don't have to worry about not having to pay bills. Money will never make you happy. Listen, if you're married, it's not your job to make your husband happy. It's not his job to make you happy. It's up to you to make you happy, and then share it with your partner, friends, whatever it may be. The power of words, you will never believe how powerful it is. And you will never believe how a sentence can tear you down. 90%, 95% of us is water. If you ever heard about the Japanese water tests and experiments by the Japanese scientists, you need to look at that. It will blow your mind.
Dr. Robb, tell everybody where they can connect with you.
Jump
I
on
called you
Instagram.
Dr. Robb. I'm on a first name basis with you with Doc, just so you know.
Of course. Hey, listen, guys, jump on the Dr. Robb Kelly is the .com is the website, ROBBKELY, or Dr. Robb, Dr. ROBB, any search engine, you'll get me up. If you're feeling good, jump on the website, the book there, Daddy, Please Stop Drinking. The last thing my daughter said to me as a child, I just want to let you know, 4 years ago, she got back in contact after all these years, and she's now my lead therapist in my Manchester office. Dreams come true. And if you need anything, talk to us, email. Now, just a special message out for this podcast, because I know Sherry did this just because I'm coming on and she said it all. So listen, guys, if you're at home and you're really feeling down, or you need a 10-minute talk that will change your life, I want you to call me. Now, I'm not going to give you reception. I'm not going to give you my assistant. I'm going to give you my personal cell phone number. So get a pen, guys. You ready? 214-600-0210 is my personal. Always text, because I'm such a crazy busy man. If you text me, I will call you back, and I will give you a pep talk that will change your life. Otherwise, I'll send you $50. I'm always giving money away. What's going on? It's not my money, guys. It's God's money.
I'm putting this number here. You said 214-600.
0210.
Here I was thinking I was special to have your number. Now everybody does.
I know. How crazy is that?
Go ahead. I'm going to ask you one last question that I ask all my guests, which would be you. My final question of this show. I want everyone to know that the Sherry Elise Show is coming, and a Cuppa Joy is going to be a segment on it. But my question for you is, if everyone had, because this is a Cuppa Joy, what would you fill if you had the opportunity right now to fill up everybody's cup at once? What would you fill their cup with in the world?
Confidence with a touch of love. So it's like tea with a sugar. Confidence with a touch of love. Have confidence, guys. We all have it. Just fill that cup up with confidence, and God will take you there. Neural pathways will take you there. A therapist, a good therapist, will take you there. But, you know, you got to do it, guys. We only live once. Remember, you get one shot at this. Why not have the best lives ever?
The best life ever. Thank you so much for giving us the tools. The tools to have the best life ever.
Make that face again. That's what I'm talking about.
I'll get a screenshot of that later. Thank you all so much for tuning in today. Please connect with Dr. Robb Kelly. Don't let this just be a motivational talk. Let this be an action step for you. Take that first step, reach out, get the support, reframe that inner dialogue, say, I love you. For all of you guys who know, I have transformed my own life and my own trauma, which is still really from that mirror talk as well. So I connect so deeply with it. Everything is possible for you. I am possible. There is nothing impossible. Now I'm just going off because that's what I do. Thank you so much for being here today with us. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. I couldn't
and
wait.
I'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.